What is going on, everybody? Tonight I am joined by someone who I'm really just getting to know, and he had posted something earlier this week, and it really resonates with me to my core. It resonates with a lot of people, and it's also a little controversial, and so I invited him on, and I feel like we had a really great conversation. I got to know who Mike Russell is as a person, and get his point of view on how he views today's hunting industry as a whole, and sort of maybe how social media has an influence on that, good, bad, or indifferent. I think you'll find out after you listen to this podcast. So I want to say thanks again to Mike Russell for joining me tonight on episode 27 of Angel Road Outdoors, the podcast. If you have not yet, because I have never asked, please go forth with a positive attitude to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and a encouraging, uplifting, and thoughtful written review. Something inspiring, maybe something with some dad jokes. I don't know. Write something good in there, and do the same thing over at Spotify. So thanks so much. This episode is brought to you by Beefcakes. Beefcakes is not your traditional gym. If you want to lay down between bench presses, go ahead. You want to pee outside? That's fine. Just be mindful of my neighbors. Do you want to not clean up your dumbbells when you're done with them? Go right ahead. Just be prepared for some ridicule. Do you want a chocolate fountain? Do you want a nacho bar? Perhaps you'd like to sit down on one of our fine leather couches and play NHL 22 on the Xbox. Cool. That's great. If you're tired of a traditional big box gym and you still want to get that pump but maybe have a snack, Beefcakes is the gym for you. Come see us today at Beefcakes.
Face off.
Man, as a hockey guy, like I grew up playing hockey my whole entire life, the idea, the symbolism behind a face-off, the mano a mano, the culmination of all your hard work and the intensity when it matters most, truly symbolizes the pursuit of wild game, whether it's deer or turkey or elk or whatever. You have practiced your whole season or your whole off season for that single defining moment, whether it's on the ice or whether it's against, your formidable opponent, that mature white-tailed deer or that wily, can't seem to figure out turkey. I struggle with turkeys, if you can't tell by my nervous giggling. Faceoff Ebikes, formerly known as Stealth Hunting Ebikes. Same great bikes, just a brand new name. A little rebranding had to occur to sort of identify themselves, clearly and on the internet. But it's the same great brand. It's the same innovation. It's the same everything that you had at Stealth Hunting E-Bikes, just with a new name. These bikes are built and shipped from Michigan, so that is near and dear to my heart. By actually tearing apart and assembling these bikes, he's got this access to replacing parts and creating the perfect mobile to climb these hills. And I am not a slender fellow. I do like my sugars and I like my fried foods, but I'm moderately healthy. I'm 6 foot and I'm over 200 pounds, and I have been putting my bow hunter to the test here in Michigan because I knew that this bike could help me in those scenarios where I needed to climb a hill, whether it be a chisel-plowed cornfield or just some terrain here on my private properties in Michigan. I knew that it could get me from point A to point B, and I have been testing it, and it absolutely gets me where I need to be quickly and quietly. It was incredibly easy to get this bike to my house and do the final assembly in my garage. The entire lineup, honestly, is geared to climb these hills. With custom configured drivetrains and custom fabricated parts, these bikes are suited for the steepest terrain. Now, I haven't done anything crazy like test them out at Attack or any ski hills, but I've seen Dieter do it. Smallest front chainrings in the industry, offering the same motors and batteries as the biggest names in the industry, but at a fraction of the cost. So listen, if you want to make every hunt count, make sure you're using Faceoff hunting e-bikes. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Angel Road Outdoors, the podcast. This is episode 27. I'm your host, Brett, and I am joined tonight by another stranger. I like to keep inviting strangers on the podcast because that's what keeps this thing fun, man. Learning new people, meeting new people, and getting all these different perspectives from some great people around the country. And tonight I have on Mike Russell. How you doing, Mike?
Great. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for scrambling to join me tonight.
Absolutely.
I know it's weird. Maybe it's weird talking to a complete stranger on a Sunday night when it's actually beautiful outside finally, and you're like, man, I would rather be doing something else.
Yeah, I'm always up for talking deer and bow hunting though, so
awesome.
I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. Why don't you take a little bit of time, or as much time as you want, honestly, and tell everybody where they could maybe follow along on your adventures, in the social media world, and then a little bit about yourself as a person, as a hunter, and kind of a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I primarily use Instagram. My Instagram handle is Russell, RUSSELL _bow only. I have a small web series called Appalachian Chase. Instagram handle for that is Appalachian Chase. Really, I'm 34 years old. I live in Southeast Ohio, and just born and raised in the outdoors. I went through many different stages from a young kid until now. I remember being younger. My dad would always take us out rabbit hunting. We always had rabbit dogs. There was a time that I thought there was nothing better than chasing rabbits with the beagle dogs. And then I got into turkey hunting, man. And I remember I killed my first longbeard. I was like, man, there's nothing better than this. And I got into junior high and high school, and I had coon dogs and I had rabbit dogs. So I sort of go through, like I said, different phases on what I was into at the time. But graduated high school, and year after that, bow hunting was really, really starting to take off. So that had been 2010. I guess it was becoming more popular. Probably not as popular as it is now, but so I was out running trail cameras and trying to find deer to hunt. My dad wasn't really a bow hunter, so a lot of the time I spent in the outdoors, I sort of had to teach myself. And looking back, I taught myself because I made so many mistakes. I did so many things wrong. But I was actually, as 2010, I believe it was, we were holding a big doe contest. I think every small town in America does it. And I went out to shoot a doe one evening, and I was sitting there with my compound bow in a tree, and I was just getting ready to climb down. It was super hot, and a 4-point came from my right. I was like, man, I'm gonna be stuck in here now. We live in Ohio; it's a baiting state, so a lot of times these deer will come in to eat, and they'll take their time in there per se.
Yeah, and
I was getting fried in the tree, and I heard something snap, and I looked down below me, and there's a 135-inch. It was a 12-point, but it was really a 10. Standing at the base of my tree, and I at the time, I'd have thought it was 200 inches, and this deer walked out in front of me, and long story short, I ended up putting a very good shot on it, and it went 30 yards and piled up. And as soon as that happened, I mentioned I was real big into hounds and chasing rabbits, chasing coons, chasing turkeys. As soon as that happened, there was a fire that lit inside me, and I said, there's nothing like this. It was unlike anything I ever experienced in my life. And man, that was it. Here I am 14 years later, and there's a fire that burns inside my heart for whitetail deer now that it's stronger than it's ever been. My life really consists of, I'm God-fearing, but my kids are first, and then it's deer, and there ain't a close second after that. So I just, like I said, funny how it happened. It just took one time, but man, like I said, here I am 14 years later, and I'm absolutely ate up with it.
So you said you were about 20 years old when that kill happened right there, right?
Right, yes.
And you also mentioned that you have taught yourself, pretty much everything, and the majority of it, or maybe not the majority of it, a lot of it has been due to mistakes made.
Right.
So if you grew up kind of graduating eventually into bow hunting and buck hunting, what were some of those mistakes that stand out to you today as the most the most pivotal mistakes that you learned the most from that got you to that point?
I think number one would be human intrusion. There was, I'd get a farm, and like I said, I was ate up with it, and I thought I had to be there every day doing something. Whether I was feeding or running trail cameras. A lot of this happened before cell cams, so I thought I had to check my camera every day. So human intrusion was a big thing. I think I was running more deer off than I was keeping, kind of thing. I learned a lot on access. I felt like I was finding places where deer were at, but I wasn't thinking it through in terms of, are they watching me? Go to my stand. And that actually happened this year. I killed a super mature deer this year, an old deer, and I hunted him for like a week and a half, and I think he was watching me go into my stand. And as I was going in, I would look where I thought he was bedding at. Like I would look in that general area, and I said, "There's no way that deer can see me going up in here."
Mm-hmm.
And I went into hunting one evening, and I thought, I'm gonna dip to the right and get through this pasture field. And I did, and I seen him. I was like, but I didn't think that was the reason why I seen him. Then I hunted it, a couple more times. I'd go up this tractor road, and went in to hunt him another evening. And I just felt like it was going to be a great evening. It was overcast skies and some light rain, and I always tell people big deer like to die on those overcast evenings with a light rain. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna kick down across that pasture again. And I did. I ended up killing him that evening. But back to what we were saying, access was a big thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I thought about was getting in my stand to kill the deer, and not, are they watching me?
Mm-hmm.
Go in. So human intrusion was definitely number one. I think people make that mistake a lot today. But I think access was another big one that I had to learn from, per se.
You think you missed a lot of opportunities? Like now, with hindsight and what you know today, do you really think that you missed a lot of opportunities by doing that? Or are you saying, I know for sure because I would bump them, or you're just sort of hypothesizing that you did?
Yeah, I know I missed a lot of opportunities, and it was it took me, being older and like a couple years later, look back and say, man, that was my fault. I didn't kill that deer. So a lot of times you wouldn't realize it till after the neighbor killed it, or after, your buddy shot it. And then he, filled you in on a little piece of information, and you were like, oh man, But I'd say I definitely allowed a few deer to live, but what I learned from it, I think has also led to a couple deer dying. So,
yep. And it's interesting you say that, because we, in my group of friends that we hunt together, we've recently started to really be mindful about our access. And historically speaking, we were not. And we do get lazy, and we have sort of hypothesized that the property to the north that does not get hunted, the deer will bed there and watch us park our vehicles. They'll hear us open that sliding pole barn door in the morning, see the lights go on, and be like, well, I guess we're not heading south today.
Right.
And we've been most successful. I've personally been most successful at that property in the rut or within the sweet spot. Now, I think I could probably do myself a favor being a little more conscientious about my access. And I love that you said that. So I just want to let people marinate on that. You don't have to be in there constantly. That's another thing I was guilty of too, is if my camera's batteries were dead, I mean, it was a priority number one to go change that battery. And man, just go in there like once or twice a summer and you're good. You don't need to go in there every 2 weeks to look at stuff.
Yeah, I tell you, now cell cams are huge.
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, I didn't start using cell cams till last year.
Interesting. So you were strictly an SD guy.
I wanted to stay that way,
kind
of thing. Because again, with times are changing, per se, with deer hunting. I mean, it's huge, bow hunting and everything. And I sort of wanted to leave it that way. I was like, I'm not spending all this money on cell cams and data plans and whatnot. And then, man, I bought one. It was over. Now I have too many, but
it happens. It does happen to the best of us.
Yes. So,
did you grow up a private land hunter or a public land hunter?
So when I grew up, I say this now, and I hate deer drives, but when I grew up, that was what you did. You were part of a local group, and you did deer drives. It was all about camaraderie. Spending time with people. They call it deer camp.
Sure.
Taking a break and going down and eating. That was what it was all about. So I didn't know bow hunting. I didn't know anything about it. I knew about going out with my family and my friends and doing deer drives. And like I said, 2010, I shot that deer with my compound bow, and it was over. I can remember after I did it, I had no desire to shoot a deer with a gun ever again. And nothing against doing that. I have a deer that's on my wall that's I killed with my old man, and I'll look back on that for years.
Sure, of course.
But I guess I just, like I said, times change, and I've changed a lot as a hunter. I want nothing more than to go hunt deer with my bow, and if it's gun season, I'll be in the tree with my bow. So, that's how it was when I was younger. There weren't a whole lot of bow hunters. There definitely weren't a lot of compound bow hunters. You had a bunch of guys with crossbows, and you did deer drives. Now, where I'm from, I think there's like 2 groups left.
Really? So they've all they've kind of fizzled out.
They've all dwindled.
Is it a generation thing, do you think? Like that generation of hunters is now at an age where that's just not something they do anymore?
I think it is, and I think that bow hunting has become so big that, and social media is huge with deer. You know that.
Yeah.
It just looks cooler when you're sitting there with a big buck in your hand. You got your bow. And you say you shoot a deer 150, 200 yards, and you tell somebody that, they automatically don't look at it the same as if you shot it at 15 yards. So I think it's just changed. I think bow hunting's so big, for one, and there's a lot of farmers now that they don't want groups of people going across their land. Whether it be liability wise or they might have a guy that's paying them top dollar to bow hunt it.
That's right.
So there's a lot of people here that they let you drive their property 10, 15 years ago, but not now.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
So do you hunt private or just public?
Yeah, so I just hunt private. Sorry,
that's okay.
I just hunt private. I actually have a 181 acre farm.
Nice.
It's not mine personally. I do some work on it. I care for the farm, and
awesome.
Have a lease agreement with the individual that owns the property, and then I have a couple permission farms as well. But I can tell you that I'm bordered by public.
Okay.
I feel the pressure kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not like hunting public where you pull in, there's a couple vehicles there, but I have public around both of my best farms, and but I hunt private, yes.
Were you a door knocker growing up, asking permission? Was that something that you did? Because it's something that was very foreign to me as a kid.
Yeah, so I live in a very small town.
Okay.
I'm a law enforcement officer here. One of those things, played high school football here. So the town I live in is probably 2,500 people.
Okay.
Our whole county's, it's under 15,000. So it's easy to know everybody kind of thing, or at least know of everybody. So like you knock on a farmer's door, they might not know you, but you say, hey, my grandfather's so-and-so. Oh yeah, I know him. And you're in,
Yeah.
So, I'm a door knocker, and I love to talk to people. And that's another thing too. I think being able to speak with people, and being cordial and genuine helps a lot. I send out Christmas cards and stuff. And,
awesome.
There'll be days I'll go to the grocery store and maybe pick up a rotisserie chicken and take to, the old lady that owns one of the farms I hunt. Just, and I think that goes a long way.
I agree 100%. So the area where we go, it is a lot of old farmers. And I get the vibe that they want to talk. They just want to talk to somebody. I think their kids are adult kids who probably have kids, and maybe even they have great grandkids. So they're in that upper 80s, 90s age group. A lot of their family is dispersed and doing their own things. Maybe they're widowed, and things are not what they used to be, and they don't have that group. I hate to say it, but some of their friends are passing on, and they just want someone to talk to. And I encourage everybody, if you have a landowner that offers you permission to even shed hunt, just say, how you doing? Knock on the door, spend some time, ask him how he did over the winter, ask him questions about, if there was a storm, there's a gentleman who lets me shed hunt, but we cannot deer hunt on his property. No problem. But I talk to him several times a year, And, you can hear stories from him about when his kids were little and how they would, have like a produce stand that they would sell to the neighbors, and, how a tornado blew his barn down in the 70s. You get to hear some really cool stories, and I love that. I just love talking to that generation. They're so interesting.
Yeah, they're knowledgeable.
Yep. And
they can tell you a lot too. I always tell people, when you get permission to hunt a farm, you should end every conversation with, if you need anything, call me.
Always.
But there should also be, don't depend on them, because that generation too, they don't like to ask for help.
Nope.
So if there's something that you notice, knock on their door and say, hey, I noticed you had a tree down in the field. I'm going to go cut it up for you. And I found that's been beneficial too, and having good places to hunt. Yeah,
they want to know that you care about that area just as much as they have always loved that area that they live. A lot of those people are multi-generation, either in the same house or in the same, several 100-acre block. Like they have only known that area, and some of them never get out that much. And if you can take the time to get to know them and show them that you care about it as much, it goes a long way. Even if it's just shed hunting, you may never get the chance to shoot a deer on their property. But
yeah, absolutely. The turkey my little boy shot yesterday, he's 5, shot it on a farm that I killed my first bird on 22 years ago. I don't have permission to hunt anything on it. I have permission to shed hunt, and there's people that would say, hey, why don't you see if they'll let you deer hunt? And I just know that the way the people are.
Yeah.
If I go too much in detail, people will know where I'm talking about. But this person they mean a lot. This person means a lot to me because they were there for me a lot when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was out there shed hunting this year, and he said, hey, Mike, you know what? Why don't you bring your little boy out this year and shoot a turkey?
Oh, that's awesome.
I said, seriously? He's like, yeah, we don't let anybody hunt. There's a ton of turkeys. Bring your little boy out. And it's just crazy. I killed my first longbeard 22 years ago.
That's a special treat right there.
My little boy did yesterday. Yeah.
That is a real special treat.
I might have shed a tear or two, man. It was awesome.
That's what it's all about. Getting the next generation excited about it. And then to top the icing on the cake, the same farm that you shot your first bird on.
Exactly.
That's unreal.
Exactly. Unbelievable.
I did see your picture, man, and congratulations to your son. That is so awesome.
Really appreciate that.
I hope you guys got lots of pictures to look back on that over the years, because that's
absolutely. They're hanging up. They're on the mantle already.
Awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. Was he pretty excited or what?
He was. He shot about 10 yards. That TSS now. I mean, I'll be honest, I was scared how close he got. Long story short, man, he popped up. He was right on top of us.
Holy moly.
I was like, you got to shoot. I knew it was going to come out the size of a golf ball.
Yeah.
I said, I hope he's on him. It ended up working out, and just thankful. And then, in that moment, I took the time to explain to him, what he did. I didn't kill turkey when I was 5 years old, and we weren't setting in a ground blind with a rest or anything like that. He was sitting between my legs.
Wow.
And it might have been luck, but man, God set it up for us. It worked out great.
So cool, man. That's a once in a lifetime. You can almost only dream of something like that happening.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow. You almost can't even write it either. So cool. Well, I had actually written down, are you into turkey? Because I knew it was coming up, but you posted already that you were successful. So you answered my question before I even got a chance to answer it. Now, you sort of talked about, I'm going to go way back. I'm going to go back to something you said a little bit ago. You taught yourself, or for the most part, taught yourself. Right. Now, I've talked to a lot of guys on here, because I didn't grow up hunting. I started late in life. Well, 20, and then took a long break and came back to it in my 30s. But it sounds like you'd been doing it consistently most of your life.
Yes.
A lot of these guys were like riding their BMX bikes to the video store and renting VHS tapes. Did you do anything like that? Or how did you what content were you consuming as a younger man?
I did. I like to ride my bike and stuff, but I found a lot of times that I would be in the woods by myself a lot, and I just had a connection to the outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad hunted. He took me out gun hunting and turkey hunting. We always had rabbit dogs. But I was into exploring, being out, and I wanted to find stuff and like deer sign, that stuff that got my heart pumping as a young kid. But I had no idea. Like I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, he took me out a lot hunting. But the same thing. We weren't we weren't bow hunters.
Yeah.
And I think bow hunting deer, it's different than gun hunting deer, and it's definitely different than deer drives.
It's so intimate.
Yeah, and like I said, I keep going back to that. That first deer I killed, I shot that thing, and he went down right in front of me, and I said to myself, "There's nothing like this." Brett, I've killed turkeys in 5 steps, 10 steps. I had some of the best rabbit dogs in the whole state of Ohio. I had coonhounds for days, but what happened that evening? It changed my whole life. Just
that's awesome, man.
To put it in the simplest of terms, that deer changed my whole life. And I wouldn't shoot that deer today if he walked by me.
Mm-hmm.
But man, in 2010, I thought he was a slunger, and he's on my wall. And I tell people, because he doesn't stand out per se from the other deer. So that deer right there means the most to me, because my passion for whitetails today is what it is because of that deer.
I was just going to ask you if you have that mounted.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I think that says something to people who are, like you said, social media is huge today. And so you have this generation of people who are maybe getting excited about hunting, and they want to get to that level. And it's really good to hear somebody who has graduated to the more mature deer chase.
Right.
When you have that moment, cement it in time.
Yes.
Memorialize that moment. If you can afford it, even if you can't afford it, try to ask for help. Memorialize that animal, because it will be incredible to go back in time and look. Like, I can look at all these mounts on my wall, and I can remember every single scenario. And there's nothing like reliving the one that changed it for you.
Absolutely, yes.
It's such an incredible feeling. So I think that's fantastic that you did that. And I would encourage anybody who has that light bulb moment to memorialize that animal forever, somewhere within your eyesight that you see frequently, and just relive that and never lose the flame. If you start to burn out, just relive that one hunt. Just look at that mount, relive that hunt, and hopefully rekindle that flame, man, because there's nothing like it.
Nothing at all. Absolutely.
Yeah. So will you shoot this 135-inch buck, and your life, you just know your life has changed?
Yes.
Were you smart about it, or did you maybe, like some people do, go off the deep end and set some unrealistic goals?
I'll be honest with you. It lit a fire inside of me,
mm-hmm.
and I just started running cameras, and I didn't want to talk to anybody about anything that didn't entail whitetail deer.
Mm-hmm.
If I was somewhere and there were people there talking about fishing, I didn't care to talk about fishing. That's all I wanted. So I started running a bunch of cameras, and I just tried to better myself each year.
Sure.
Per se, and it really took off. I ended up having additional success after that, and then I went through I called a hiatus. I went through a 3-year hiatus, and I never killed a deer.
Okay.
And there were times where I was going to hang it up because I was like, how much money I had and stuff. I would see other people posting on social media where they were killing deer, and I would think to myself, man, like, I'm a better hunter than them, or I know deer more than they do, or the farms that I'm hunting are twice as good as the farm that he's hunting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of that was that mistake stuff that was going on in my life. I was doing stuff that that I didn't know at the time were mistakes.
Okay.
And I just learned from them. And I think I've killed a deer with my bow every year since 2016, maybe.
Nice.
And I've just continued to, there were deer that I killed early that, I wouldn't even grab my bow for now.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm in a position in my life that I try to find the biggest deer that I can on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it my goal to kill that deer. Sometimes that deer is not always a giant in terms of, he might not be 190 inches. This past year is a prime example. I lost 100 and high 160s deer on the neighbors, and I could not find a deer. And I ended up finding a deer that we thought was about 7.5 years old. He was nothing special. He was just, I have a thing for big 6 points. He was actually 7, but big 6. And I wasn't going to kill him because he didn't look cool. He wouldn't look cool on on Instagram. He would, but he wasn't. Just a stud.
Sure, of course.
180-inch deer. And I actually sent the picture to a couple of my buddies who I respect a lot in terms of bow hunting. They've killed some slammers, and they're like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you hunting that deer?" I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah." My one buddy said it good. He said, that's 125-inch deer with a 200-inch brain. So I'm telling you, you need to hunt it.
Yeah.
And when I saw him for the first time, I was like, man, that deer is a stud. I try to. Oh, hold on here. Something pop up.
I saw your face light up, so I knew something popped up on your screen.
Yeah, are you still seeing me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just leave it at that. But I just try to find the biggest deer I can every year, most mature deer I can, and I make it my goal to kill that deer. And in the back of my mind, I try to learn from every deer. I think every deer teaches you something a little bit different. And,
oh yeah.
That's sort of how I look at it.
So if you had to guess, what do you think the average mature deer is in your area, age-wise?
So I consider mature here. I consider mature 5.5 years old.
Yeah.
It's a hurdle here to get them past 4.5 because there are a lot of good 4.5-year-old deer.
Yeah.
That again, social media people want to kill a deer and they want to set up on the skyline, hold their arm out as far as they can, and try to make that deer look as big as they can. And if need be, they'll tell their buddy that this is a 6.5-year-old deer. I've had him on camera for however long. So if you have a 6.5 or 7.5-year-old deer to hunt, you're really doing something. Odds are you have a farm that deer can go to be safe on.
Yeah.
But it's honestly it's really hard to get them there. If you can get on a good 5.5-year-old, that's my goal every year, to find a deer that's at least 5.5 and pursue that deer.
So I don't know anything about Ohio. I mean, I know where it's at. I'm very close to it. I just started working in Ohio, as a matter of fact. So historically speaking, I would try to do some out-of-state hunts in any state that I was working in, and it happened to be Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Okay. Great states to hunt in. Michigan is the lowest on the list of good ones, but nonetheless, I would hunt there. And so I don't know, help me understand, is what's the pressure like in Ohio from a hunter's perspective, from a hunter's pressure?
Sure. Yeah, so the area I'm from, I have a lot of people that hunt property lines. I can't blame them. It's a good place to hunt. But I don't per se deal with it personally on the particular farms that I'm hunting. So we'll say the 3 primary farms I hunt, I'm the only person that can hunt 2 of those. But I lose a lot of deer to the neighboring farms. Mm-hmm. The one neighboring farm, they plant a lot of crops, and deer go over there to eat and they die per se.
Yeah.
It's private, but it may as well be public because the farmer lets everybody hunt. So I don't deal with pressure on the farms that I hunt really, but I end up losing a lot of deer to the neighbors. I say deer drives do a number on my deer, just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But there are a ton of people here that hunt, but the actual pressure on the farms I hunt aren't high.
Okay.
But even the public here doesn't get pressured a whole lot.
Yeah. It's pretty vast, isn't it?
Yeah, there's guys that will come in and hunt. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not something where you drive by and there's 4, 5, 6 vehicles there or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what it's like here. That's what it's like
I've heard
here.
Of places like that. I got a buddy from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And
he was in turkey hunting with his son here for the youth hunt. And he was telling me that they pulled in they released trout in like a local stream. And they pulled in there, and there were 44 vehicles sitting in the driveway, in the parking lot.
Baby.
I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
There were trout,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard the same thing about Indiana, too. And I've heard that in Indiana, you can't just pull off the side of the road either. Like, you have to park your vehicle in a designated parking area. So it gets, you drive by those parking lots, and you're like, this blows, dude. There's 20, this thing's packed already.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, you also posted something recently which really triggered sort of this interaction, which then led to this conversation tonight. And it is a statement that I agree with wholeheartedly. It's a statement that could be misconstrued as maybe confrontational. Right. It's a statement that I think could ruffle some feathers, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. You posted a quote that says, "You are who you hunt with."
Yes.
And I could not possibly agree more. But tell me how you got there.
As I said, when I started bow hunting in 2010, it was just me, and through those years, 14 years later, I've had multiple friends that became, say, hunting buddies for a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I've seen it a lot too. And people from this area that they kill studs, kill giants. And it's like 90% of the time, there's guys that are out killing these big deer. and they have a hunting buddy or a friend that they spend a lot of their time with, deer wise. If you look at those people and look at their friend, they're killing the same caliber of deer. It's a fact. I see it every year, and I also see it in the fact that nothing against people that shoot smaller deer, but say you have Johnny and Bill that have hunted together their whole life. Johnny shoots a 130-inch 3-year-old. That's usually what Bill's going to shoot. So I share that as you are who you hunt with. That people that share the same goals, typically kill the same kind of deer. These people that are running together with the same goals, they're getting it done year in and year out. And these are the guys that are passing on deer that might be a trophy to somebody else. Today's good deer, tomorrow's great deer. Tomorrow's great deer, the next day's giant. So I shared that, and actually I watched my follower count go down too after I shared it. But it's the truth. You are who you hunt with, and I've seen a lot of people that they're into bow hunting for a couple years and then they become a turkey hunter. I always said, I know a lot of bad bow hunters that'll tell you they're a good turkey hunter. But, nothing against anybody else, but if you look at the guys that get it done year in and year out on studs, big deer. I'm not saying that they don't dabble around in turkey hunting or they don't dabble around in fishing or predator hunting, but there's guys that are getting it done year in and year out. People think it's like magical and stuff. It's simple. They're ate up with it. These aren't guys that are. I'm not talking, the Mark Juries of the world who they can do what they want. I'm talking blue collar guys who go out and put the time in. They're absolutely ate up with it. And the small area I'm from, it's pretty simple. It's the same guys year in and year out, and their buddies are doing the same thing that they're doing. So you are who you hunt with. And to put it in a perspective for somebody out there to listen to and get a better grasp of it, I think if you take a bad person and put them with a God-fearing individual every day for a year, that person will then be God-fearing themselves. You take a good person and you have them, run with somebody that's committing crimes and whatnot for a year, eventually that person's going to do the same. And it's no different than deer. You take somebody and stick them with somebody that kills big deer and they know big deer, eventually you're going to see the same for that person.
I believe there are lots of quotes on the internet that say something along the lines of, if you hang out with 5 smokers, you'll be the 6th. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right.
It's the same philosophy. And now most people will hear that statement and be offended or feel attacked. And all sensitive about it. And then, like you said, they'll unfollow you because you feel like you are attacking them as a person. But I think the sentiment is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, then the sentiment is, why don't you want to better yourself? Right. Why wouldn't you want to set goals to make yourself a better steward of the land, the deer herd, push yourself beyond limits that you have, push yourself beyond your already set threshold of limits, like, I only hunt 60 acres of ag. Well, go do some timber hunting and learn something new, or hunt a swamp. Like, why wouldn't you?
Right.
And so these people are upset because they know it's true, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And so if you just take a second, and I've had this conversation I hear before, do a little self-reflection and say, okay, what could this mean? And then if it pertains to you, and maybe you have been a little short-sighted in your hunting career, because this is specifically about hunting, maybe try setting a goal and pushing your limits and see if you are capable of doing it. Maybe you're not, but I'd be willing to bet if you step outside of your circle of influence for a little bit and learn something new, you will find that you can do harder things than you thought you could do initially.
Absolutely.
And I just wish people wouldn't be so quick to react with hurt feelings to those sort of statements.
Exactly.
Somebody has to say it. And I'm not one to pull punches. I'm not one to be shy about confrontation. I'm not one to be worried about what other people think. I think there are too many people today, and I think you'll probably agree with me, who just coddle. The internet is full of people who will coddle you and tell you that everything's okay. And
yes.
And then you will spiral in down a rabbit hole of trying to surround yourself with these coddlers to make you feel better, when you really need some people in your life. It should be your friends or your family to say, hey man, shut up. Quit whining. Pull up your boots, pull up your bootstraps and get back out there and do it. But these people, I mean, it's the internet again. We've talked about it. Social media, it's the internet. If you want to be told that you are special and you are okay, you just get on Facebook and Instagram and you will find somebody to tell you you are fine just the way you are.
There's a lot of people out there looking for likes. That's all.
Yep. So how do we go, in your opinion? I also listened to a podcast recently where they sort of jokingly said, we need to bring back bullying. And it was more of like a joke, if you got a bunch of guys at camp and the one dude always shoots a 120, say, hey, man, haven't you shot enough 120s?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I laugh at that, but there's a little truth in that jest.
Yes.
At some point, maybe you need to have that conversation with your group of friends and say, hey, listen, guys, wouldn't it be cool if we had some 150s out here?
Right.
How do you think we get there as a society, as big picture? Because it's a societal problem.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset, honestly. I mentioned the deer guys out there that get it done year in and year out, killing big deer. And I think it's sort of a mindset. And I think there are people out there that they're content with shooting a 3.5-year-old deer.
Mm-hmm.
That's 120 inches. And, it makes it harder on people that, want to let deer grow and want to let deer get big.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 3.5-year-old on camera last season that I'd say if he made it to 6, he would have been a deer that had the potential to be 200 inches. And he got killed as a 3.5-year-old deer by somebody that's killed multiple deer much bigger than that, we'll just say.
Really?
Yeah. So, I think it's just a mindset. Everybody wants to have a picture holding a deer to post on their Facebook or their Instagram and say, hey, look at me, I killed a deer, I think you should be judged more on what you choose not to kill than what you do kill.
I like that.
And if you live by that philosophy, I think you'll have deer to chase year in and year out. But I just think, our social media generation that we're in, you got to find people that share the same views as you, because it's not easy to change people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's people that they're content with going out there and shooting a 3.5-year-old 120-inch deer. And, hey, my season's over. I'll use my buck tag, kind of thing.
Do you agree? Do you agree with the graduation process of someone who has only recently begun hunting? You got to kill to kill, and so you've got to get comfortable with shooting does, and just the graduation process up through 1, 2, 3, maybe not 1, but like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you think that's a natural progression, or what is your opinion on the natural progression of killing bigger bucks?
Yeah, so I have deer on my wall now that I killed 10 years ago, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. The first one I killed that I wouldn't grab my bow for. I wouldn't even think about killing them. So as you mentioned, the graduation process, I think everybody's different with it. I think there are people that are they're content with shooting what they shoot every year, but that's what I had to do. I just tried to raise the bar a little bit more every year. But starting out, I told myself, hey, listen, you weren't per se taught how to do this, so learn and just try to do better every year. I did have a couple good friends that were they're bow guys. They know big deer, and I was humble enough to ask them questions, and I took their advice, and I still call them to this day if I'm having problems with a deer that I just can't figure out. And but yeah, I always just tried to raise the bar for myself year after year, and it honestly, Brett, it probably wasn't until 2017 I killed an old deer that was sort of famous in the area. There was a lot of people hunting him, and when I killed that deer, that was when I really upped the bar for myself.
Okay.
It was one of those things. I killed him. Some people had heard I killed him. A couple people came out to my house like, hey, man, we want to see that deer. We had it on camera. And with the trail camera pictures and whatnot, it was believed that he was at least 8 years old. So
wow.
He was just an old deer.
Yeah.
I killed him off of a scrape. Might have been luck, but I killed him. But when I killed that deer, that was when I really said to myself, like, hey, you can do this and be good at it. And so about 2017 was when I really, I guess we can say, graduated.
Yeah.
And
I think it's important that people hear this, because we went on a small tirade about how, you are who you hunt with. You need to set high expectations of yourself as a human and as a hunter. You need to have lofty goals. You need to not settle, but also go through the process. But ideally, you want to get there. You want to continuously pursue better for yourself, in turn creating a better environment for nature. although Mike has a firm stance on hunting, period, he went through the process too. And so people like my little brother, who has only been hunting for a couple years, shoots probably like a 115 his first season ever. And I'm like, man, that's a pretty great deer to shoot for your first deer ever. Like,
absolutely.
There's not a lot of guys that will shoot. Like, hell, that was one of the bigger deer I've ever seen. So it actually kind of skewed him in the wrong way. And so it probably would have been better for him to go through a little bit different process. It's important that you kill deer so that you can continuously feel confident killing deer. So I hope people didn't hear that and tune out. Like, I hope they listen to this whole thing and hear that it's important to go through the graduation process. And I love that you said that you did that. Now, what do your goals look like today as a hunter, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I've never had I've never had a hard time getting permission to hunt farms. So I have some really good farms to hunt, and really I don't struggle to find a good deer to hunt. This past year was a little bit different. I really only had one big deer, and he ended up getting killed on the neighbors. But my goal now is, I try to get deer to where they're at least 5.5 years old, where they're mature. And there's an old saying, if you don't kill that deer, it'll get killed on the neighbor. I try not to be the neighbor, and I'm thankful for the opportunities I have to chase bigger deer, because I understand that people don't have that opportunity. Not everybody does, but each year I find that one deer that where I just say, that's him. That's the deer I want to hunt.
It's a cool feeling. Do you feel like there's a certain time of year where you get that? Is it like July, August? Is it September? Like when they're in full growth, velvet still on?
A lot of the deer that I hunt are deer that I have history with. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so I wait for them to show up, kind of thing. Like,
okay.
Rarely do I have a deer that just shows up and I'm like, man, that deer's a stud. I'm gonna hunt him. So generally, I'm able to wait for certain deer to show up, okay, and then go from there to hunt them. There's a deer I killed 2 years ago that I called Stranger, and I had him on camera for 3 years, and so I just sort of waited for him to show up. Whenever he showed up, I was like, holy cow, kind of thing. But yeah, if it's a deer that gets my heart going, I know I can be proud of, and yeah, those are the ones I choose to go after.
Do you do any out of state hunting?
I do not. And I tell people, the guys that do it and they do it successfully, like, they're awesome. Like kudos to the guys that do that. Yeah. I always tell people, man, it's hard enough for me to kill one 5 minutes from my house, let alone driving 5 or 6 hours. So no, I don't do out of state hunting, but the guys that do and get it done, kudos to them guys.
And you have no desire to?
I wouldn't say no desire. Okay. To. I guess I look at it from the money perspective too, where everything's just so expensive.
Yes, indeed.
And, I got to pick between rolling the dice and going to Kansas for a week and might not kill anything versus, taking that money I'd spend and, putting it into my own lease or my own farms and, trying to better it. So I just look at it that way. I would love to at some point in time in my life go hunt Iowa or Kansas, but as of now, I don't do it. No.
Well, that's interesting. Most of the time I talk to guys and they're like, I love it. Or if they haven't done it yet, they are chomping at the bit to do so. So I think that's really cool that you are super happy in Southeast Ohio, or if that's where you hunt. Like, you're just really pumped up to be there. You're thankful for what you've got. It's meeting your goals. I would imagine, though, a guy who has goals like yours, should that ever change, I bet you'd be willing to put yourself in a position to find those deer wherever you need to find those deer. I can't imagine you just hang it up.
Absolutely.
You're not just going to be like, you know what? I'm done hunting.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that's you.
People joke with me all the time that know me. It seems like every year I kill in like December or November or December. I'll go into late season sometimes. People always say, like, you wouldn't know what to do if you killed one early, which I don't think I would know what to do. Like, if I killed one early and I had to go through a whole fall without being in a tree, I think I'd end up getting a tag somewhere. Because
Ohio's a $1 state, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Wow. And how many doe can you take in your area?
So, like, every county's different, but our county is typically, I think it might have changed here recently, but 1 doe, 1 buck.
Okay.
Or 2 does.
Okay.
There are some counties around that are 3 deer counties, which would be 1 buck, 2 does, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Like, I'm not a big go out and shoot does person because I'm the only person in my house that eats deer meat. So if I kill a good deer, most generally it'll last me for a while.
I was gonna say that's a lot of pressure to eat it all by yourself.
Yeah, my little boy, he went out last year and he got to experience some success. So a little different now.
Yeah.
But yeah, most generally I just try to find the biggest deer that I can. I pursue that animal and try to get it done on that deer. Make it a goal of mine.
Are you a mobile hunter, or are you like a permanent set guy?
Yeah, I'm more of a permanent set guy. Like,
okay.
Those mobile hunter guys a lot of them guys are studs. Man, they can get up and down and go find them. I have a couple buddies that are real big mobile hunters. I actually thought about going to the road show.
Yeah.
Last year, I honestly was going to go just for the camaraderie and to see some stuff. And
hell yeah.
there's a lot of good hunters that go to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. We've been, my brother and I have gone a couple years in a row now, and at this point, like I don't need to buy. I'm probably not allowed to buy anything, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't need to buy anything, but I just go to see the guys that I only see there that I talk to online all the time, and
Right.
hang out with the guys all day. And I don't even shoot. Like, they have like these contests and stuff. I don't shoot. I don't run in the stuff. Like, I just go hang out with everybody and trade stories. And I consider myself always learning. And so even though I may know how to read maps, I didn't when I first go out. When I first started going out, I didn't understand topography and thermals, and I'm still learning those. And so they have those little classes, and I just love going, man, and just hanging out with the guys all day. And it's a really cool event. Are you closest to like the Harrisburg or the PA one?
Yeah, the Harrisburg. I was thinking the Great American Outdoor Show. I looked that one up, and I think was there 2 there last year or around. There was one that was only like 2 hours from me.
Yeah, I think you're probably closest to the PA road show,
Mm-hmm.
but I said Harrisburg on accident. I don't know.
I think even the Ohio one was like Southern Ohio, to where I would have been closer to go to PA.
Okay.
The Ohio one last year, I seen that they didn't have Ohio on there this year.
Yeah. Well, if you come up to Michigan, make sure you say hi. We'll be there. I was just curious if you were a mobile guy or a permanent set guy. It sounds like you got some great farms where you don't even need to be mobile.
Great.
Do your farms change a lot from year to year to year? Like, ours changes based on storms. Honestly, we get these storms that just blow the trees down in certain areas, and it changes those deer's pattern in the woods. Like, do you find that yours changes periodically?
I know, but I had a tornado come through my lease this year.
Really?
Oh yeah, I lost a tree stand out of it.
Oh damn.
So I say no, but I'll find out now. I guess, are you saying in terms of like how deer utilize them and
yes.
deer movement and stuff?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't particularly notice anything, but it seems like the same year or every year it's the same stuff in terms of what the neighbor plants on their farms and how they utilize that and whatnot. So I don't see it a whole lot here, personally.
And are you in a corn bean rotation down there?
Yeah. So the area I live in is rolling hills, so we don't see a whole lot of beans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but we do see a lot of corn, alfalfa, clover kind of thing. The neighbor to my good farm, he left his corn up for a good while this year, which was unlike him. And then I had an absolute stud of a 4.5-year-old that I was trying to keep alive. And he cut that corn the week of muzzleloader season. You can put 2 and 2 together. What happened, but that deer ended up getting killed. But yeah, we're more of a corn, clover, alfalfa kind of thing.
So you mentioned that you kind of end up taking yourself into the late season. Sounds like maybe subconsciously you're doing it by choice, right? Because you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if you shot one opening day.
Right.
Do you have an absolute favorite time of year to be in the tree?
I was born in November, so I always say there's a reason I was born in November, and I don't think there's anything like it when you have good November weather. Where you set your back against the tree and you're bundled up, and when you hear that crunch, there's nothing to be said.
Yeah. So anytime in November, not necessarily even early.
Anytime in November.
Okay.
I feel that my birthday is on the 5th. I always feel like I always tell people, they call and, hey, when should I take vacation? I always find anywhere in between say the 5th through the 15th is just awesome here. It seems to be.
So do you leave your cameras out year round?
Yes and no. I now that I have cell cams, I pull them obviously because they're expensive and try to keep them in good shape. I do run a lot of SD card cameras just on mineral sites and stuff like that year round. I like to watch deer grow.
Yeah. Are you a shed hunter?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
I love it.
And I think there's a part of it. It's like, I just want to be outside too. Like, I just want to walk around. I want to smell the fresh spring air. Like, I want to just be in the woods, even though I can't hunt. Yeah. I love shed hunting, man.
And I learned so much from shed hunting too.
Yeah. Like, explain.
In terms of finding where deer are bedding, where particular bucks are bedding, there's a lot of areas where I don't go in 364 days out of the year, but I take one day every year and I go shed hunt it.
Okay.
Going in there and seeing the new sign and reading the sign. We talk about access. I might be the only guy that does it, but if I find a big buck bed, I'll perch down in it and see, why was this deer bedding here? And, try to piece it together in my head. Hunting these hills is actually, you can learn so much from a buck bed because it's just crazy to see. Once you get down here, like, that's why they're bedding here.
Yeah.
They can they can see what they can't see. They can smell what they can't smell. They can see. But yeah, it's just the amount that you can learn from areas that I stay out of. And then, when you go in there and shed hunt them and, piece stuff together and whatnot, it's learning the trails and how they're utilizing the farms and whatnot.
Are you a guy that looks at tracks?
Not per se, no.
That's something that I just have started to hear a lot of guys talk about. And I don't know if maybe it's just like the hot topic recently that everyone wants to sort of cling on to.
Right.
But sort of identifying or maybe assigning a particular unique buck track to a particular buck.
Right.
I have I can look at a track and be like, this is a buck track, but I don't know if I can tell enough that it's like a unique characteristic. Yeah. Because I've seen
just use the big deer make big rubs.
Yeah.
So that's
big deer take big poops too. Like there's some big does that dump huge dumps in my yard.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've never done anything with tracks or looked too much into that. No.
Yeah. So you're like a pretty traditional guy as far as hunting is concerned. I mean, like you're modern in the sense that you use cell cameras, but like all the stuff that most people talk about on podcasts today, myself included, mobile hunting, all that stuff. You're like a purist. And is that sort of what drives you, like the passion to keep the sport pure?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of what I see on social media just makes me like shake my head, kind of thing. So even when I take my little boy out and stuff, I want to keep things simple. Deer are smart. We're not going to act like they're mature. Deer are smart. We're not going to act like they're not. But knowing the little things turns into the big things. So I always said, be confident enough to teach, but be humble enough to learn. And with that, I look at guys like a couple of friends that I have, and they're the same way. They just have a passion for it, and you don't have to do things the new way to get things done per se.
That's true.
You can do things the pure traditional way, and there's people been killing big deer for years.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to act like these new fads that are coming out are the reasons. Burying a kiddie pool and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I appreciate that compliment, actually.
Yeah, I like it. It's inspiring to me because I for a long time when I was really getting excited about wanting to do more in the hunting in my hunting life, I was obsessed with the gear, right. And I found that once I got comfortable in my setup, and I think I was really just kind of finding myself. Once I got really comfortable in my setup, it was so relieving to ignore the noise and just hunt or scout.
Right.
It was so awesome to finally get to that point. And I do think it's important for people to get comfortable so that they can stay in the woods longer. Like, make sure that you're good. Like,
right.
Troubleshoot your shit all summer long. Get comfortable, dialed in, and then learn the deer, the woods.
Yeah,
so
a lot of you mobile hunter guys, man, you guys are particular on your stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I realized less is more too. Less is more.
Especially in the mobile hunting game, yes.
Yeah. So, well, I sincerely appreciate you coming on tonight, and like I said, I'm really excited to get to know you more tonight. I was really excited to kind of hear from you that perspective on you are who you hunt with. I love it. I love that it's sort of multi-purpose. Like, yes, this is a fact, but yes, you can look at it a couple different ways. You don't have to be so butthurt about it.
Right.
Man, thanks so much for coming on tonight.
I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to maybe doing another episode with you sometime.
Yeah, hell yeah. I would like to do another episode closer to the season. I'd like to hear, from you on maybe how your, if anything changes for you, or especially what this maybe tornado did to your lease. Hopefully by that time I'll have figured out where I'm going to hunt in Ohio this year, because I'm still trying to figure that out. And then we can, maybe here's some exciting news on if you've got a target maybe picked out yet.
Yeah, I got a good one I'll tell you about.
Oh, nice.
We hop off here.
Cool.
We'll exchange some information. I'll put you on something here.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, let everybody know where they can follow along with you again. I believe I am now subscribed to your YouTube channel, and how they can follow along with your adventures.
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Russell_bow_only, and we also have a web series called Appalachian Chase, and it's where you can find everything. I don't do Facebook or anything like that, so
good for you.
Feel free to give me a follow.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate it, and thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you shortly.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that you were still okay.
It was me. I'll be honest, I half forgot, and then it hit me, and as soon as it hit me, I looked at my phone, and all worked out here.
Are you okay that we record video?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
I've never done it before. I just
not cut off or anything, am I?
No, you're good, man. And I've never done video. I wanted to try it and see if I can just kind of have that as an option for people. Because I've got a guy who's like, man, I'll just put it on YouTube and just let it play in the background all the time. And I've done podcasting for a long time, and I've never done video. So I figure I'd give it a shot, see what happens.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Cool, man. And you said you've done some podcasts before?
Yes, I have.
I feel like that is why I had you in my Instagram. Like, I'm sure I listened to it. I just can't remember what it was on.
I try to listen to a little bit of everything. I think there's a lot of non-informative stuff out there. So if I can find one that's informative, that's real, then I'll listen to everything.
Yeah, and I think what I'm trying, first of all, do you prefer Michael or Mike?
Mike's usually what I go by.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I refer to you however you want to be referred to. So when I started doing this, I was like, man, I just want to figure out a way to talk deer to more people all year. And if that means that I do this particular medium, which I was already familiar with doing, then so be it. And I really wanted to get like a little bit of a different perspective on the actual individual. And so while we may talk about hunting, I want to know who Mike is, what gets Mike going. And then when you posted that the other day, I was like, I want to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a really great, it's going to probably rub some people the wrong way, and good, frankly, good. It should be talked about. And so that's what triggered it for me. So, okay. Is there anything you don't want to talk about?
No, I'm pretty well an open book.
Cool. Okay. Do you have a time frame that you need to be done by?
No.
Okay. I'll try to keep it 60 to 80 minutes, somewhere in that sweet spot.
That sounds perfect.
Cool, man. Cool. No, never mind. I don't want to. Just some people can ramble. I don't think you're going to be a rambler. I'll try to keep us corralled in. I have a few things written down. Yeah. Cool. All right. I'll do a quick intro, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Sounds good.